This one is called the Waffle House on Kingcrest Parkway East Access Road and the Doorway to All Worlds. So that is the idea of what we're writing. I have some character names down, and I kind of have an idea of how I want to approach this. I don't want to do a lot of build up to each scene in the story. I kind of want to just jump straight into the action every time and see how quickly we can get to the ending. I may need to flesh it out a little bit more once I've written the initial story, but I'd really like to just see what I can do with it, just kind of plowing into it. So here we go. All right. Let's say Finn's gone. Milo Doyle said as he burst out of that weird swing door. Waffle Houses, let's say that weird Woody Brown swing door. Waffle Houses have between the long, narrow kitchen / dining room and the bathrooms. August Forer stood to one side and cult artists knocked over a stack of high chairs as he backed away from the light pulsing and pouring out from the bathroom, I'll say restroom this time, restroom hallway. The cook and one waitress working that night at 2:00 a.m. had retired to the kitchen before the portal ripped open between the guys and the bathroom. Leon Juliet was the only other one there to witness the vanishing of their friend Finn. He hadn't stood up from their window booth across the restaurant from the rip in the universe. All right. Hey, Zach and Clever, thank you for being here, guys. Hope I put on a good show here. All right. Milo held the door with his knee as he extended his open hands at them in a what the hell gesture. We need to help him. He's in that thing. Unnatural wind sucked instead of blue. It messed up Milo's hair and ruffled his clothes. It had done worse to Finn. But what were they supposed to do about it? What were they supposed to do about it other than fall into that rift with him? Colt and August looked to Leon for an answer. Leon still hadn't stood up from their booth. Grease and a few slivers of undercooked hash brown sat, I'll say, shimmered with the light on the plate in front of him. Right in front of him. I'm too high for this, Leon thought. Alright, I don't want that to be a quotation. We'll put that into italics for a thought. Too high for this, Leon thought. Too drunk and too high. I've never been this high. I've never been open a portal into hell kind of high. Leon realized the others were looking at him because he was the closest to a stodgy old man that their group had. He was a wet blanket sometimes. He was not cool most of the time. The light flickered and the sound of sucking wind dropped away to a ringing, heavy silence. Milo cursed and slammed the door against the wall. He disappeared into the bathroom hallway of their Waffle House, not the way Finn had disappeared. August and Colt followed quietly. Leon waited for an adult, a real adult, even if it was that janky old man Cook. But neither of the employees came out from the back. Alright, so he stood and walked in on the tail end. Only one D, please. On the tail end of the discussion. We can't tell his parents, August said. There was a hole through the tile wall. Are you hoping they won't notice? Milo asked. It was 2 walls, mostly gone at a corner. Leon thought there might be thought there used to be an employee door there, but if there ever was, it had followed Finn Yates into another dimension. We'll get in trouble, August said. I think they'll ignore the drinking, Colt said. They won't, August shouted over the end of Colt's words. They won't because they'll think we killed him. Dumb kids like us end up in jail over shit like this. So we just walk away and say, what exactly? Milo asked. The hole in the walls was really a hollowing out. The curves of missing yeah, you're enjoying it so far, clever. The curves of missing matter were a near perfect sphere of destruction. The bottom curve cut through the foundation. Alright, let me spell that right. Cut through the foundation into the clay. The interior curves broke a hole into the freezer that was venting frosty air like a chimney. And the back room showed racks of bread. A couple loaves were sliced through laterally. Taking half of each piece of bread into another universe. Those two working here had to see this, Leon thought. He went to the bathroom, and then we didn't see him after that. August said, "It's true. They can come here and see this craziness for themselves." The boys walked out and paid. Did you notice anything strange? Leon asked as the waitress added up their yellow tickets. Leon was going to cover Finn's bill. Around here, she asked. She might have laughed, but it came out as a cough. Always strange around here. The strangest part was that nobody asked. No one for a week came to the four of them about Finn. They looked for him. Mr. and Mrs. Yates called everyone they knew, including the school, but never the four who saw him last. They returned to the Waffle House on the access road again the following weekend. Let me spell that right. The following weekend, it was way worse because they were dead sober. Milo dared to open the swing door to the bathrooms and the thing that steals boys. The hallway was intact. The employee only door was back. A new door, unlike any other in the building, was, let's say, took up most of the wall at the end of that short passage. Okay. It was red. It had a brass knob. Leon couldn't tell if it was wood or metal by looking at it, and none of them dared to touch it. Should be the freezer right behind that door, Leon whispered. Should be a big ass round space of nothing last I saw. Colt said back a little louder. When did you remodel? Milo called. The cook shifted and narrowed his uneven eyes at the cook shifted and narrowed his uneven eyes at the boys. He had the look of a man who didn't realize he was being addressed and then was pissed when he discovered it. You like it? Was freshly done in 1978 and we'll fix it up again in probably 2 or 3 nevers. The man turned toward the grill, even though nothing was cooking. They weren't planning to go back again, but Finn called them from the payphone in the Waffle House parking lot. They knew that's where the call came from because it was the only payphone left in town that anyone knew of. All right. Finn Yates was older. It wasn't decades, but he had put some years on. In the previous 2 weeks. If nothing else, Finn's hair was a foot longer and braided up with all sorts of strange materials, too coarse to be ribbon. He wore a leather jacket and pants, but they weren't for biking They weren't for biking or rocking. These looked like they were sewn together. These looked like they were sewn together with thick cords of raw hide. Leon wasn't a hunter, really, but like any boy in town, he knew guns. The two that Finn wore under his rough coat were none he recognized. The butts of the weapons looked like the same red material as the new door by the bathrooms. Leon wouldn't touch those either. Alright, Leon wouldn't touch those either. Where did you go? Milo finally asked. He sat next to Finn. He sat next to Finn. Where did you go? Milo finally asked. He sat next to Finn. The other boys crowded together across. Okay. Where did you go? Milo finally asked. He sat next to Finn. The other boys crowded together across. Let me talk more about the weapons. Finn wore them in low shoulder holsters at about rib level. The butts of the guns faced outward, cross draw. Okay. I went to more worlds than I could number, Finn said. It sounded like him, but not really. He had an accent, but it was barely there. Like a thing he wasn't conscious of enough to be putting on. I'm glad you're back, Colt said. It's been weird. I'm not staying, Finn said. That brought silence. Finn took the chance to cut a few more bites of his chocolate. Let me fix that. Of his chocolate chip waffle. All right. That brought silence. Finn took the chance to cut a few more bites of his chocolate chip waffle. What do you mean? Why aren't you staying? August. He's not Augustus. August asked. My life is better lived in other places than this. Tell your mother that, Finn, Leon said. He expected that line to sting worse, but Finn was enjoying his food too much. What have you been doing? Milo asked. What's on the other side of that door? Everything is on the other side. Worlds that dwarf this one. Everyone stared. Milo pressed. And the skies are on fire, Finn said. His accent got thicker by degrees. The skies are on fire, Finn said. His accent got thicker by degrees. Over the lavender oceans, we battle the death fleets and their murder men. The inland kingdoms do not need to suffer any longer. The oceans do not need to be the domain of those evil men for another generation. You're fighting a war? August asked. It wasn't disbelief. Leon heard awe in his friend's voice, and that bothered him. I'm fighting all the wars, boys. Finn said. He showed his guns again as he folded, I'll say as he spread his arms across the back of his bench. All universes are connected, and saving one saves all. That's the adventure. That's a life worth living. Well, it was nice knowing you, Leon said. Well, it was nice knowing you, Leon said. I'll kiss your mother goodbye for you. Come with me, Finn said with too sincere a voice. Leon's blood ran cold. All of you. Finn's eyes off of Leon helped, but not a lot. Alright, let me make that a separate paragraph because I want to talk about this a little bit more. But not a lot. Leon eyed the single diners eating alone at 3 other spots in the restaurant. They seemed uninterested in Finn's fantasies. We can't, August said. We have families. Colt looked around for support from the others. It's about to be our senior year, Leon said. Why would you bail now? because it's not good enough. Finn placed a couple gold coins on the table and motioned for Milo to let him out. Nothing is going to happen to you in that high school, in this town, in this world that hasn't already been played out year after year by other hopeful boys stuck in this same town. Alright. Oh, goodness. Still looks like I'm freezing up there, but who knows? Maybe that's just my computer. Bitrate looks good, though. Alright. Hopeful boys stuck in the same town. Finn shrugged and walked toward the bathrooms. Wait, Milo said. And Finn did. Leon didn't stand up from their booth, but didn't stand up from their booth. He studied the others around. The waitress, a different one from 2 weeks ago. Okay, the waitress, a different one from 2 weeks ago, placed a plate of eggs in front of a huge man with a walrus mustache. Okay. All right. Placed a plate of eggs in front of a man with a walrus mustache. A woman at another booth. A woman at another booth was hidden by her hair. What, Milo? Are you ever coming back? I came back to try to give you more than all this. What would be the point of having the same conversation again? Finn turned away. Alright, Finn turned away. repeating the same things over and over forever is how this world works. That's what I'm saving you from. To be some kind of pirate, Leon called at his back. No one looked up. To be a pirate, no one looked up. To sail under burning skies, fighting death troopers. Finn kept going. Milo looked back, wild-eyed, and then ran after Finn. Don't, Leon called, but Milo did. They pushed through to the bathrooms. Light flashed around the edges of the... Hey Ron, thank you for dropping in, man. Light flashed around the edges of the swing door. Leon knew they were gone before August and Colt opened the door to check on them. The red door had turned blue and had a handle instead of a knob. I'll say a silver handle. The man with the walrus mustache got up. He wasn't a man, really. His jacket accommodated his 4 arms. He adjusted his crossbow on his back and paid with purple bills. Let me fix that. Paid with purple bills. Colt and August, I don't know why I keep saying Augustus. August stepped aside to let the alien through. They watched as the 4-armed walrus man opened the blue door on terrible white light. When it slammed closed, the door was green with a scratched I am having the worst time trying to spell this word. With the scratched brass knob. The waitress picked up the purple bills and then Finn's gold coins. She seemed perfectly satisfied. With that. All right. What is that door? Leon asked. She stared at him a moment and shrugged. Open it for yourself. Like any other door, it's a way in and out. Did you notice anything weird about that last guy who left? Leon asked. This is the night shift. She said as she collected dishes. Everyone is uniquely weird. Do you think the green and blue doors go the same place Finn and Milo just went? August asked. Doesn't matter, Leon said from the booth. We're not opening that. No way. August and Colt say neither. Neither August nor Colt responded one way or the other, but they stepped away from the bathrooms. The woman with all the hair stood. Her skin was green, and she had 3 eyes slit like the peepers of a crocodile. She was definitely going through the green door, and Leon wanted nothing to do with it. He slid out of the booth. One other woman ate in the corner. Alright, one other woman ate in the corner. She was blonde, and her eyes were bloodshot, but otherwise she seemed perfectly human. "I'm leaving," Leon announced. It would be 6 months later before Leon returned to that. Let's do more, because it would have been summer. Let's say it was 11. It was 11 months later before Leon returned to the Waffle House that faced, what is this place called? Faced Kingcrest Parkway. Face Kingcrest Parkway. It was summer again, and he only went because the other two picked him up. They hadn't stayed close through their last year of high school. They hadn't stayed close to their last year of high school. It was strange to be in the car again. Stranger to be back in that place with the door to everywhere. All right. We'll center this and see if we can wrap this story up nicely. All right. They both looked older. Finn showed gray, especially in his beard. Milo had aged better, but was a man now. We don't know if we can get back here again. Milo said, "You will need to come now or risk living and dying here as you are." I don't see living and dying on Earth as a tragedy. Leon said, "The Waffle House was packed, and a man covered in red fur rattled by in clothing made of thick, loose chains. Someone with 3 heads and insectile eyes. Someone with 3 heads and insectile eyes paid her let's say it's paid its bill at the register. Someone who could have been human swung into that cursed back hallway, but they really did go into one of the bathrooms. Are you still putting out sky fires? August asked. Milo chuckled. We have fought and won in many worlds. It was worth every moment. We are in the service of an inland kingdom. Finn said in a voice with more gravel. We explore west into unknown territories. We rescue villages. We offer a new flag to kingdoms in distress, and we build a bigger and better world across endless continents. Milo added, we still find adventures on one ocean or another from time to time. And there is always sky to sail. Finn patted Milo on the shoulder. There is a place for all of you, but we may be too far out to find this exact door again. Milo said. Finn waved with one of his gloved hands. The door may never be read again, but you can choose your own adventures if you decide not to come with us now. We need to get going, Milo said. Time goes on everywhere. The two men stood, and the boys stared. Finn scattered a mix of silver and copper on the table. No gold this time? Leon asked. Finn smiled. There are better places to eat. I'm saving my best for other worlds. I'm going, August said as he stood up. Leon looked to Colt for support, but the boy's jaw just hung open. Okay, Leon said, "You're working at your dad's business. It's big money, a set future. Remember?" exploring other worlds seems less terrible. August. Hold on. I'll make that a period. Just about to wrap up here. August turned away as if that were it. Three of them crossed the busy room toward a door that was still red with a golden knob. Alright, Colt yelled, "Wait up. Are you serious?" Leon stayed planted, blocking Colt's exit from the booth. Colt tried to crawl over him, but then rolled over the back and ran after the other three. "You have a scholarship," Leon said from the booth, "and a girlfriend. You all four have families in this town. And they'll still be in this town without us," Finn said. The four of them walked past the bathrooms and spilled light as they opened the red door. It was bright and white, but as Leon stared, he saw swirls of lavender. The door closed, and something with a cheap coat of yellow paint was left behind. What sickly things lived behind that door? Leon stayed in town, working 3 different jobs over the years. He married and divorced with no kids. Thank God. That would have broken his finances. He dated and broke up a few times after that. I'm going to break this off into a separate thing. I don't know if it needs to do that, but I'm going to do it anyway and just see how that plays out. Alright. He ate at their Waffle House from time to time. The day was usually full of humans, and the changing door was tough to see in daylight. At night, the place was busy, and Leon occasionally asked if anyone knew of Finn Yates, Milo Doyle, August Foyer, or Colt Artis. I'm going to use Leon's name one more time at the beginning of this. Juliet. I think that's right. I'll need to check and make sure I did the spelling the same all the way through. So let's close this out. Many shook their heads or said no if they knew human languages. Alright, many shook their heads or said no if they knew human languages. More than a few widened their eyes and told of legends that were many thousands, that were some thousands of years old. These were the men who could conquer worlds, but saved them instead. Pirates turned crusaders, warriors turned saviors. Leon listened to every story. He wanted to keep up with his friends, even if he could only do so through legends and myths. He imagined what it would be like riding shoulder to shoulder with them. Imagine what it would be like riding shoulder to shoulder with them. Sailing the skies. Or fighting battles worth winning. Then he'd note the color of the door to everywhere. Never was it red again. Not for him anyway. Then he returned to his own life. All right, so that, currently at 2,700 words, is the Waffle House on the Kingcrest Parkway East Access Road and the doorway to all worlds. I think that turned out okay. It definitely has good bones to it, and I believe I can make something. I think I can make something cool out of that story with an edit or two. So I definitely feel like that story kind of has its own personality and knows where it's going. So very proud of that one.